Why would someone call the cops on a woman just trying to live her life? Karen waddled down the cracked sidewalk of our quiet suburban street, her face twisted into a scowl that could curdle milk. Her oversized floral dress swished with every heavy step, and her eyes, small and sharp, darted toward our little blue house. She'd been our neighbor for barely 6 months, but it felt like a lifetime of torment. Karen wasn't just nosy, she was a storm of entitlement, a walking hurricane who believed the world owed her obedience. And today, she'd set her sights on my wife, Elena. Elena was everything Karen wasn't: poised, kind, and fiercely intelligent. She was also a federal agent for the FBI, though you'd never guess it from her soft smile or the way she hummed while watering our roses. We'd moved here to escape the chaos of city life, hoping for peace. Instead, we got Karen. It started small. Karen complained about our dogs barking, though Max only yapped when she banged on our fence. She left passive-aggressive notes about our lawn being unkempt, despite Elena's meticulous gardening. Then came the HOA meetings, where Karen's booming voice drowned out reason, demanding fines for anyone who dared defy her vision of neighborhood perfection. Elena, ever the diplomat, tried to reason with her. "Karen, let's talk this out," she'd say, her voice calm but firm. Karen would just huff, her chins wobbling, and storm off, muttering about outsiders ruining everything. The real trouble began when Karen decided our house was an eyesore. She claimed our new mailbox, sleek, modern, approved by the HOA, violated some obscure rule she'd invented. She'd stand on her porch, arms crossed, glaring as Elena checked the mail. "You're lowering property values," she'd shout, her voice echoing like a foghorn. Elena, unfazed, would wave and say, "Have a nice day, Karen." It drove her wild. One muggy afternoon, I came home to find Karen pounding on our door. Elena was at work, and I was juggling groceries. "What's wrong?" I asked, bracing myself. "Your wife's car," Karen spat, pointing at Elena's SUV parked neatly in our driveway. "It's blocking my view. I can't see the street from my kitchen window." Her face was red, her jowls trembling with rage. I glanced at the car perfectly within our property line inside. "Karen, it's in our driveway. It's not blocking anything. Don't you talk back to me," she shrieked, stepping closer. Her breath smelled of stale coffee and spite. "I've lived here 20 years. I know the rules. You renters don't belong here." We weren't renters. We'd bought the house outright, but Karen refused to believe it. She'd built a narrative in her head. We were interlopers, and she was the gatekeeper. I tried to explain, but she cut me off. "I'm calling the HOA president. And if that doesn't work, I'll call the cops." She stormed off, her flip-flops slapping the pavement. That night, Elena laughed it off. "She's just lonely," she said, sipping tea at our kitchen table. "She wants control because she has none." I admired her empathy, but I was furious. Karen's harassment was escalating, and I worried what she'd do next. The answer came a week later. I was at work when my phone buzzed with a call from Elena. "You need to come home," she said, her voice steady but edged with something I couldn't place. Karen called the police. I sped home, heart pounding. When I arrived, 2 squad cars sat in front of our house, lights flashing. Karen stood on her lawn, arms crossed, a triumphant smirk on her face. Elena was on our porch, cool as ever, speaking to an officer. A small crowd of neighbors had gathered, whispering. "What's going on?" I asked, rushing to Elena's side. The officer, a young guy with a buzz cut, looked embarrassed. "Ma'am here," he nodded toward Karen. "Called us about an illegal tenant violating property codes. Said you're squatting and need to be evicted." I stared, dumbfounded. "We own this house." "I know," Elena said, her eyes glinting with amusement. She handed me her phone, open to a text from our lawyer confirming our deed. The officer nodded, clearly uncomfortable. "We'll need to verify, but if you have documentation." "Of course we do," Elena said smoothly. She turned to Karen, who was practically vibrating with glee. "Karen, why don't you explain why you think we're squatters?" Karen's smirk widened. "You don't belong here. I checked the records, your name's not on the deed. You're probably renting from some slumlord, and that car's a hazard. I'm protecting this neighborhood." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Ma'am, we need evidence, not assumptions." Karen's face reddened. "I know my rights. I pay taxes. I've lived here longer than these people have been alive. Her voice rose, drawing more neighbors. She pointed at Elena. She's probably dealing drugs or something. Why else would she be gone all hours? That's when the twist came. A black SUV pulled up, and out stepped a man in a crisp suit, badge gleaming on his belt. Agent Elena Carter, he called, striding toward us. The crowd fell silent. Karen's jaw dropped. Yes, Tom. Elena replied, unfazed. Got a call from the field office. They need you ASAP. Case update. He glanced at the officer, then at Karen, his expression unreadable. Everything okay here? The officer blinked. Your FBI? Elena nodded, pulling her badge from her pocket. The gold shield gleamed in the sunlight, and the crowd gasped. Karen's face went from red to ghostly white. FFBI? She stammered. Yes, Elena said, her voice calm but cutting. And for the record, my name's on the deed. You'd know that if you checked properly instead of harassing us. She turned to the officer. I'll provide all documentation. This is a misunderstanding. The officer, now thoroughly embarrassed, nodded. We'll clear this up, ma'am. Sorry for the trouble. He shot Karen a look. Next time, verify before you call us. Karen's triumph crumbled. She opened her mouth, but no words came. The neighbors whispered, their pity turning to scorn. She'd overplayed her hand, and now the truth was out. Elena wasn't just a quiet housewife, she was a federal agent, and Karen's vendetta had backfired spectacularly. But the story didn't end there. Over the next week, Karen doubled down. She posted rants on the neighborhood Facebook group, claiming Elena had intimidated her with her badge. She filed complaints with the HOA accusing us of abusing authority. She even tried to rally neighbors to stand up to corruption. Most ignored her, but a few, swayed by her lies, gave us cold stares. Elena, ever the professional, stayed calm. She's digging her own grave, she told me one night, her voice steady but tired. I wasn't so sure. Karen's obsession was consuming her, and I feared she'd do something drastic. Then came the second twist. At the next HOA meeting, Karen stormed in, ready to deliver her manifesto. But before she could speak, an elderly woman named Mrs. Jenkins stood up. Frail and soft-spoken, she was the last person you'd expect to steal the spotlight. I've had enough, she said, her voice trembling but firm. Karen, you've been lying about these folks. I checked the county records myself. They own that house fair and square. And I know for a fact you've been sneaking into their yard at night, taking pictures. I saw you. The room erupted. Karen spluttered, denying everything. But Mrs. Jenkins held up her phone, showing blurry photos of Karen lurking near our fence. The HOA president, fed up, warned Karen about trespassing laws. Neighbors who'd once tolerated her turned away, disgusted. Her reign of terror was unraveling. The final blow came a month later. Karen's lies caught up with her when the HOA discovered she'd been forging documents to enforce her rules. She'd fabricated violations to find neighbors she disliked, including us. The board voted to remove her from her self-appointed enforcement role, and the police issued a warning for her trespassing. Humiliated, Karen put her house up for sale, but no one would buy it, not with her reputation. One evening, as Elena and I sat on our porch, watching the sunset, she said, I almost feel sorry for her. I didn't. Karen had built her own prison of bitterness, and now she was trapped in it. The neighborhood was quieter without her rants, and for the first time in months, we felt at peace. But peace comes at a cost. Karen's downfall wasn't just a victory, it was a reminder that hate, unchecked, consumes the hater most of all. Elena, with her badge and her grace, had won without lifting a finger. And Karen? She'd lost everything, her venom turning inward until it burned her out. Yindi.